Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to cover one of the most common things that I do in lessons, which is break building. I always say that there's three main parts to your break building. One is potting, second is cue ball control, and the third is shot selection. So I'm going to give you a few routines today that I think covers all of them aspects and hopefully start increasing your break building. These kind of things you do need to be practicing quite a lot. It's not just going to come in one or two sessions, so the more hours you put in, the better. So the first topic we're going to cover is potting. So one of the best routines I've shown you before and that I would do quite a lot, especially when I was younger, trying to learn my potting angles, was putting these reds around the black spot and potting basically 5 different angles on the blacks. I also think it's a great routine if you haven't been playing too much or it's your first routine of the day. I think it's a really good way of sort of warming up and just getting potting balls. You're not thinking too much, you're just trying to see the black go in the pocket. So like I say, I'm trying to cover 5 main angles on the blacks that you're going to use a lot through the other break building routines. So when we're doing this routine, obviously I'm just making sure that I'm covering all of my basics and other things I've mentioned in other videos about my pre-shot routine and making sure I'm nice and on line of the shot and hitting the cue ball where I'm intending. So I've just got this one set up straight to start off with. So I'm walking into my shot, trying to hit middle of the cue ball, nice on line with the black, and trying to stay nice and still on the shot so I feel like I'm covering everything properly. So once you've potted a few of the straight ones, you can move the cue ball onto the next angle. So we're slightly low on the black here. Also, if you've got time, ideally what you would do is maybe try 10 attempts of each angle and sort of keep a little score of how many you get. That way when you're practicing, you're really getting the most out of your practice and you're trying to sort of beat a score. That's how I felt when I was younger and I'm practicing. I would put myself under a little bit of pressure because I would want to beat the score that I got the previous attempt. So the same as just any other shot, I've got a slight angle. I'm trying to visualize that before I get down to play the shot. So I'll follow that line through the center of the cue ball onto my angle. I'll do a few feathers, my normal routine, back and through, pot the black nice and still, making sure I've completed my shot. So these 5 angles are obviously like a good position you would like to be in during a break, but obviously we're not always going to finish there. The cue ball sometimes going to wander a little bit low on the black, so if you're finding some of these shots, you know, you're doing pretty well at them, then maybe put one slightly lower as well, because this is going to be sometimes a little recovery shot that you would play in a game. So the pot's a lot harder, so I'd sometimes come round and pick me spot from straight on the black here, just to give myself a bit more visualization of the shot. Then come back to stand on the cue ball. And then I'm going to try and play a little soft stun shot, trying to simulate what I would actually try during the game. So quite low on the white there, nice and still till the black's in. And I've still managed to actually hold the white quite good in the middle of the table. So them kind of shots are really valuable as well for little recovery positions when you break building. So topic 2 is going to be cue ball control. This routine I do with nearly everyone I coach. I think it's a great routine for showing you a lot about your game or for potting the black off the spot, but really being precise at controlling the cue ball into the areas we're going to do in some of our break building routines. So you can probably see here I've got the colours sort of along in order because we are going to try and pot the ball in and cannon these balls in a particular order. So the brown spot is on the pink spot, and then I've just got sort of 3 balls either side, just equally spaced out. The other thing that's really important is where the cue ball goes. So I've got the red on the black spot, and then I've got like another red parallel, and then you just want the cue ball sort of 1 ball width above that. The reason that's really important is from this one position, this angle on the black, I can cannon all of these 7 balls just by hitting a different part of the cue ball. And that's why I think it's a really good routine, because some people don't really think they can do this much with the cue ball just by going slightly higher or slightly lower. It's going to be like a black off the spot in the cue ball just to gently try and cannon the red. So obviously from playing for quite a while, I sort of have a good idea of where my tip could be, and just trying to do a nice gentle cannon onto the red. So I'm just going to be, for this shot, for me, just above a stun. So I've chose my line. I've got my tip position pretty much near centre of the ball. Little soft stun. And you see the cue ball's gone across nicely there and hit the red. Pretty much full ball, so I'd be happy with that. And it's given us really good feedback for knowing that I've judged that shot correctly. So the second shot now is obviously the same, potting the ball off the black spot and now trying to get the white to cannon the yellow ball. The idea of this routine isn't so much to cannon the ball and knock the ball flying around the table. It's just to really control the cue ball and what I call like a touch cannon. So the cue ball just to gently go up and make contact with the yellow is a good enough shot. So to go from my first shot, which hit the red, to the yellow now, basically all I'm going to try and do is drop my tip down on the cue ball a fraction. This is another thing that it shows you with snooker. It's all about just small fractions. Club players a lot of the time are changing their tip position far too much. So like a common thing here would be from cannon the first red, they would change their tip position too low, and that I would probably expect to see them hit the green or the brown next. So like I say, I'm just going to try and same potting line, but just try and move me tip down a little bit lower. So I've got my line, a couple of feathers, a little bit lower. See there, so that's a good example. I've just hit the cue ball a fraction too low, so it's actually came up and hit the green instead first. So obviously that wouldn't count, and I'll just set the balls back up and do it again just to try and be precise and hit the yellow, because I want to do these all in the right order. And like I say, all you're going to do is gradually going lower and lower down the cue ball until you're pretty much playing a soft screw shot where you're going to and you'll hit the pink and the black. So these sort of angles from the black, you've got sort of 7 lines here, and really if you can get really good at them, they're going to, you know, help you a lot around your break building and then into your frames when you're trying to make breaks. So the main reason for the last routine for the cue ball control is when you come to a situation like this. So we're on like a low black, the same angle that I had before in the previous routine, and you're going to play up for the red in the middle of the table here. So straight away now my brain is thinking of the last routine when I played the touch cannon on, say, where the yellow was. So once you've repeated that quite a lot, you start sort of remembering and of where your tip is going to be to basically get that line across where you want to be for the red. So again, I've picked my line out for the pot. I'm trying to remember where my tip position needs to be for the shot to get on the red. And there you can see the whites went across into a nice area, so I could pot the red and then get back on the black. And that's basically how your break building would start and try and develop. So the other reason the previous cue ball control routine is really good is if you're in a game or a routine like this where you've landed low on the black again, so that's the same sort of angle, but you've got a couple of reds like this where we actually do need to play cannon to develop them to try and keep the break going. So I'll be trying to think of, again, my tip position of where it was when I was playing them shots earlier, where it was coming up to, say, hitting the green or the brown. So I'm just trying to visualize that before I play the shot. I've picked my line out on the black. I've decided where I'm going to hit the cue ball, and also I've thought about the pace of the shot. That's also really important. It's every shot I play, I try and make them 3 decisions before I get down to play the shot. I can't really stress how important that is. I see a lot of club players getting down and still sort of trying to work things out when they're down. So I've made me 3 decisions, and see if we can play a nice little cannon on one of the reds. So you see there, I've canned the reds, opened the 2 up, so I've got a good chance of keeping me break going. So the other way you can do this routine for the cue ball control is now doing like a high black. Again, it's really important to sort of where to put the cue ball, just so you're able to actually cannon all 7 of these balls. So I've basically put the cue ball in the middle between the pink and black spot there, and I've sort of just pulled it back pretty much halfway to the cushion. Then I know I've got a reasonable angle to come off, and the cue ball should hopefully reach sort of the destination. So the first shot we're going to try is to, again, pot the black off the spot. Again, do them all in order, so the white's hopefully going to come off and touch cannon the red. Obviously doing it this way around, it is a lot harder. The pot's a little bit harder, and also the cue ball's got further to travel. So, you know, there is a lot more going on here. Also, the reason I like this routine as well is if you put any sort of side spin on the cue ball, because the white is contacting the cushion, it's really going to affect the line up the table. So, again, I've chose my pot and line. On this one, I'm going to hit quite high on the cue ball, and hopefully I'm going to land near the red, or like I say, a soft cannon on the red. So pick me line, quite high on the cue ball, follow through, just come up a little bit past the red there, so I'm pretty close to where I need to be. So I would keep doing that routine, obviously making sure I pot the black and trying to cannon the ball. So the biggest thing as well is when you don't do the shot right, is trying to just stand for a couple of seconds and try and think about how do I fix that shot. So for me, if I'm in that position and I've missed the red on the cannon on that side of the ball, I know basically I could just hit a little bit lower on the cue ball, or I could actually put a little bit of left spin on, which is obviously a little bit more complicated, but they're the two ways that I could change that shot to make sure the white would cannon that ball. And then again, like I say, you're just trying to work your way along the line, gradually just moving your tip slightly lower and lower again down the white to come off the cushion and try and cannon these balls. Like I say, this is a harder one to do, but again, high blacks are really a massive part of your break building. So if you can do this routine pretty good, successful, then it's going to make a massive difference to your break building. So I'm trying to learn from the last shot where I just missed the cannon. So this time I'm just going to try hitting slightly lower on the cue ball. But this is really where the practice comes in, because you could do this routine just once, and then if you don't do it again for say like a couple of weeks, you're going to forget where your tip has been for all these different shots. So, you know, if you get sort of 20 minutes, half an hour practice on your own in the club, try something out like this. It's just something different, not just your normal routines of lineups or knocking balls about. It's a lot more productive. So like I say, I picked out the same pot and line. I'm just going to try and hit slightly lower on the cue ball and hopefully get the cannon this time. These hit. Lovely. So the third topic I really want to cover in break building is shot selection. So we've covered the potting, we've covered the cue ball control. Now just going to try a little routine like this. There's only 3 reds, so it doesn't look a lot, but if your shot selection's not right, it can quite quickly go wrong. So the first shot I would try would just be to stun the white ball dead here for the black. And then depending on what angle I've got, that would then decide on which red I'm going to play for next. So try and just play a little stun shot on the red, and then I'm nicely on the black. So I've landed nicely on the black. I've got a slight angle, so the angle really isn't a lot, so I'm just going to play a soft stun shot up for this red into that corner. So again, I've picked out my line, I've chose my tip position. I'm just trying to hit a nice little soft stun shot. So one of the biggest things I would say with shot selection as well is when you're on a red like this, or any red, sorry, around the black area, before you play the shot, try and always decide, do I want to land low on the black or high on the black? Now, the angle of the shot sort of dictates that. So this is a good example where I've played for this red in the corner and I've got a bit of an angle. So through a lot of practice, I know that basically the cue ball here, if I stun it, is going to come up the table. So that is basically making my decision for us. So in this instance, I'm going to purposely play for a high black. A common mistake I see a lot with club players is just taking this kind of shot for granted and not really thinking it through. And they just play a little soft stun shot, but the cue ball will finish quite straight on the black. And sometimes people are happy with that because the black's an easier pot. But then the position to get, say, on that next red would be a lot harder. So It's one of the biggest things I would say around the black area, is trying to leave yourself a nice angle on the black. So here, like I say, a little soft stun shot, come up the table slightly, and you can see there I've left myself a nice high black. Again, it comes down to practice. Yes, the pot's a little bit harder, but it pays off massively with your positional play. You don't have to put a lot of spin on the cue ball. It'll come off the cushion and you can get nicely for the red to keep your break going. So this is a lot more advanced routine that I do quite a lot. So we're actually using all 15 reds. You can see here I've got a bit of a pack in the center. I've still got quite a few free reds, but it's a lot more congested now like you would have in a normal game. So I feel like if you are doing the other routine fairly simple, you can keep adding reds and maybe work up to something like this. If you can even try and get even a 30 or 40 break in this to start off with, you're doing pretty well. Because as like I said, there's not much, room, and your cue ball control's got to be really good. So again, you're working on all three aspects: your potting, your cue ball control, and definitely now your shot selection has to be perfect. Trying to leave nice angles on the black to get on one of the reds and see how high of a break you can make. So I'm just going to try and demonstrate a few shots here on this advanced break building routine. And I'm trying to use basically all of the routines I've showed you before through the pot and the blacks, the cue ball control, and now obviously the shot selection as well. So I'm going to start with a little stun shot on the red, try and leave a nice angle on the black. Again, just a little soft stun shot on the black to leave myself on the red. So this time, little soft stun on the black to leave myself high on the black. So I've got a nice angle here to come off the cushion. What's also quite important in break building, if you can, is to play into an area where you could be on maybe more than one red. So this is quite a good example where I'm going to play a little stun shot off the cushion and back up for this sort of area here. So I could have the red into the corner, I could have this red into the middle pocket, or I could have, if I hit it a little bit too hard, I could have that red also into the middle pocket there. So I'm giving myself just a bit more leeway here if my position's not perfect, but I've got quite a big area to land into. So again, just going through my shot routine, I've picked my line out, I've chose me spot on the cue ball I want to hit. So it's come off the cushion quite nicely into that sort of area that I wanted. So I'm a little bit short on pace here, so you see I'm not quite on the one in the corner, but I've got that one in the centre I was talking about. So I'm going to try and screw off the cushion here for the black. Played that quite nicely. And here we go, just what I was saying earlier, you see. So this is the first time so far I've landed dead straight on the black. So really for me, I wouldn't want to be in this position. Even though the pot's actually easier, the positional play is going to be a lot harder now. So I'm going to have to play a screw shot, a lot of spin off the cushion, probably a little bit of left hand reverse side here. So when it hits the cushion, it comes back up the table for again. I've got two reds into that corner or a red into the center pocket. So I'm straight on the red here. So I'm just going to play a roll through shot for the black. So during this routine as well, sometimes if you land a little bit low on the black, it's obviously going to be an opportunity to maybe go into the pack. Obviously it's a hard shot because it's a tricky pot, and I'm going to put a bit of power into the shot, but it's going to start developing your break building obviously a bit more, because if I want to make, say, a century break here or clear the table, I've got to disturb them reds in the center of the table. So I'll try and do that. So I've picked my line out quite low on the cue ball to get into the reds. So you see there I've played a deep screw shot I haven't managed to disturb the pack too much, but I've knocked a couple of other reds out, but it's also just a really good shot. You can practice and get used to playing with power on the blacks of the spot. So like I say, give that one a go and see what you can build your breaks up to. It's quite a tough one, so be patient with it, but it's definitely something different to your normal lineups and stuff like that. So the other thing that people mention a lot is coping with nerves. So that can come in quite a lot when you're break building and you're maybe going to beat your highest break. You can start sort of like talking to yourself, or worried about potting the next ball to keep your break going. So for me, there's sort of three main things that are going to help you with those nerves. I would definitely say practice is the biggest thing. The more you play, the more you just get used to your potting angles and your touch and feel, and your muscle memory builds up. The second thing is technique. So the better with technique is, the more chance it's got to withstand those nerves and any sort of maybe shaking or uncomfortableness on the shot. And the third thing really is just experience. So like I said last week in the other video on some routines where they look quite basic, but the more you put yourself in that position of hearing them higher breaks and the higher numbers, you're just going to get more used to it and your brain will start accepting it. So if you can work on them other aspects as well, then that should control your nerves also. So hopefully I've covered quite a few different aspects of your break building today. I've gone through the potting, the cue ball control and your shot selection, which I think is your three main parts of it. So try those routines out, see how it goes. Always leave us some comments, see what I can maybe do next to my videos, and make sure you subscribe to the channel to see future videos.